Hey, great Wednesday evening. It has been a beautiful day in Cameron County, and I usually come out here and say it's been a beautiful day in the city of Brownsville. But being that since today we have Dr. Mari, the Jamil Mari out here today, and from Harlingen, so I'll say it's been a beautiful day in Cameron County. We're going to be including Harlingen, and I will say it's a beautiful day. It's kind of hot, and the weather is kind of hot out there. But again, guys, they say that heat does well for the body. So we need all that sunshine that we can get in our system. So it's not such a bad thing. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about the numbers out there, what's going on, and hopefully, if some individuals have some questions for our guest that he may be able to answer, that'd be pretty awesome. Dr. Madi, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking with you about the events and the relevant things that are going on and answering some of these questions.
Well, we appreciate you being here. And again, we know your time is very, very valuable. So thank you so very much, sir. Again, one of the first things that we will mention out there is, we'll talk about the numbers. We still have yet to receive numbers from Cameron County. We'll hopefully be receiving them pretty soon. But we did receive numbers in regards to Hidalgo County. And, the numbers are still very, very, very staggering. We did have 278 positive cases in Hidalgo County. 13 deaths, and we've seen an increase in regards to the numbers out there in Hidalgo County, and we've actually seen them here in Cameron County as well, especially here in Brownsville. Dr. Madi, what do the numbers tell you, sir?
Yeah, we're seeing. I work in both Brownsville and Harlingen, several hospitals around the Rio Grande Valley. So the numbers are definitely increasing, and if we look at these numbers a month ago and we look at them the last 2 weeks, we can see a marked difference. A difference in mortality, in hospitalizations, in acuity of care, and the taking up of hospital beds. It's been, and for the lack of better words, not saying exponential, but that's definitely been linear, upwards, unfortunately.
Well, I will say that I appreciate greatly the information that you share with our community. You're very open and upfront in regards to a lot of the information. I will say that one of your first posts that got my attention was in regards to the capacity in all of 4 Cameron County hospitals, sir. I think it was back then on the 26th that you made mention of it being at 107%, and that was an eye opener for myself. Because again, if we follow the trends of what has happened in other parts of the world. We see all these individuals lying out there in the hallways and stuff. Sir, has our hospital capacity improved in any way?
Well, these numbers, they're numbers, but they don't sometimes depict the actual events that are going on in the hospital. The hospital is a flexible place. It's like a rubber band. You can continue to expand as much as you can, and you have to. As more patients come in, you expand and you utilize resources. You expand the ICUs, you expand beds, you try to allocate resources in whichever way you can. So that's what we've been doing in all these hospitals to accommodate for the surge of patients coming in.
Doctor, we've heard of triage. Is that something that the hospitals in Harlingen are experiencing, or is that something that as of right now, y'all have been able to control that? That from happening?
When you say triage, you mean getting patients coming into the emergency room and then triaging them for either being hospitalized or being discharged home?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's an ongoing process. We have it in all hospitals. These are the protocols in the ERs of all the hospitals that we work in, that some of these patients are triaged to either be hospitalized depending on their severity, or they can be discharged home on whichever maintenance they need to be on, whether it's oxygen or being quarantined or what have you, and to follow up with their primary care physicians. We are actually urging people to not come to the emergency room if they don't feel sick, or if they are coming in only to test. That's not the place to go to. There are certain centers, as you all know, that for them to get tested. And they've opened up other centers, as the one in Edinburgh, that is testing now 5,000 tests per day, starting today. On to July 14th, I believe.
Yeah,
so we're urging people not to flood the emergency room unless obviously they're symptomatic and they require hospitalization.
And let me tell you, and those tests which started off today, actually out there at the Bird Ogden Arena, there were 5,000 tests that were being, done today, and actually they ran out. They ran out by noon.
I can
That,
imagine.
that's how many individuals are actually going to get out there, going to get tested out there. Doctor, one of the things that I learned today was that a lot of our individuals that are going into the emergency rooms that are COVID positive, even our elderly, there isn't much room for them. So a lot of them are being sent home with oxygen tanks, to go home. Are we going to start to see more of this for in regards to the ICU and the capacity for the hospitals?
I don't think we're. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think we're sending patients that are needing to be hospitalized back home. There are certain criteria to discharge patients from the emergency room. If they satisfy certain oxygen criteria, are they needing oxygen? If they have oxygen requirements, depending on their symptoms, their labs, and their X-rays. So there are certain criteria that ER physicians and other practitioners look at before they decide on triaging and discharging patients home. Obviously, patients come in early with their symptoms who have mild symptoms, and then they come to the emergency room and they are deemed not suitable for hospitalization. Some of them go back home and they end up coming back to the emergency room because their symptoms get worse, and they have to be hospitalized.
Well, a lot of the patients here in Brownsville, Texas, actually, we did get the numbers. I just didn't have a chance to count them all. We did get 123 positives for Cameron County. We're seeing a lot of the age groups differ from when they first started. Now we're seeing hundreds of 20-year-olds, fall victim to COVID-19. What can we attribute this great number in this age group, sir?
Yeah, it's interesting. The numbers show from the first wave, we can call it first wave. I just call it, a progression of the pandemic from one cluster of the country to another area. But it started off with an elder age group, and now we're almost a decade and a half younger in terms of the average age group compared to what we started off with 2 months ago. And part of that is there was possibly a large percentage of the population that was asymptomatic, carrying the disease, and through community spread, you've had a larger prevalence of the disease throughout the community, and it's affecting people with comorbidities. There are very few percentage of the patients that come to the hospital have no comorbidity at all, but the large percentage of them do have one or more comorbidities, making them end up in the hospital.
Doctor, we recently got confirmation or word that a 23-year-old from Rancho Viejo succumbed to the virus. I have heard a lot of people say, because of underlying conditions. Is this something that people in their 20s and 30s should be worried about? Or is this something that, this individual probably had something else that led to his death?
We always tend to wish that we don't wish any harm on anyone, but we always say, there are risk factors for developing severe infection with this virus. But, every now and then we scratch our heads and say, why did this person get this disease, and why is it so severe in that person with that age group, with no other comorbidities? You get different types of people who have no other risk factors and end up in the hospital, and some of them end up dying. I don't know the specific case per se, that person from Rancho. I don't know what their comorbidities were, if they had risk factors. But the large percentage of patients who do come to the hospital are patients who have, one or two or more comorbidities or risk factors.
Dr. Bai, one thing that we have been fighting for here is in regards to our schools opening back up. We have had the president make a statement, the Secretary of Education, the governor, Mike Moroth. A lot of us here in the city of Brownsville, and because we live here in the city of Brownsville, are very fearful about our children and our staff going back onto campus in large groups. As of today, we're constantly getting positives with a limited amount of individuals going back onto campus. Should our teachers go back to school August the 11th?
Well, I'm probably not the best person to discuss that with, but I can tell you, as I said before we started the show, that you can do two things at the same time. You don't have to completely shut down the the community and shut down everything, including schools and public places, in order to mitigate the virus. You can do both at the same time, but you have to do it cautiously. You have to do it in a very intelligible and cautious and thoughtful way, to say, for the lack of a better word. There are ways to go around it. There are people who are way more intelligent than I am, who can understand how to work out going to a college or a school and keeping the level of transmissibility extremely low, either by virtual education, or by decreasing the number of students in one class, or by doing the class every other day. There are certain ways to do it. We don't have to completely shut down, whether it's the economy or the schooling or what have you, in order to try to control the virus.
A medical question. Is it true that they put you in an induced coma? Do people go into induced comas until they can get you on a ventilator?
No, people who are on the ventilator, who we are unable to oxygenate well, we sometimes put them on large sedatives and paralytics in order to have the ventilator work for them, so that we can get their oxygenation in a better place.
Now, sir,
is this going to be our new norm, even after the vaccine, or do you think that after the vaccine everything's going to go back to normal, so to speak?
The vaccine is not the all cure phenomenon, obviously. Number one, the vaccines are still in the phase 3 trials as of this July. And for us to go into the human trials is going to be by the end of the year, or even by the beginning of next year. And even if we do have a vaccine, that doesn't mean that the vaccine is going to be 100% effective. Our best vaccines are less than 50% effective. So we're not sure how this disease is going to progress and what our immunity is going to be to it. And even if we do, we don't even know and understand yet our own native immunity to the disease. There are certain data that show that some people who have had the disease do not have long-lasting immunity, whether it depends on the severity of your disease, and that's a problem. In order to eventually find, to get to a point where you can get some sort of herd immunity, or even getting a vaccine that is less effective than your innate immunity to be able to be effective against the virus. So if you're asking me, yes, are we going to go to a new norm? Yes, we are going to have to be in a new norm. The history of pandemics, if you go back to the history of all the pandemics we had in the past, they tend to last anywhere between, and I'm not being dark about it, but they tend to last anywhere between 2 to 5 years. And in these 2 to 5 years, you've had fluctuations where there's some seasonality, they come and go, they come in waves, until there is enough immunity in the community, whether it's from vaccines or otherwise, to be able to control this transmissibility of the virus. And I think this virus is not going to behave any different from the other viruses that we've had in the past. It seems to be tending to behave similarly in so many ways. And I believe we're going to have to be dealing with this over several years.
Sir, one of the things that I'm very concerned with is our hospitals, our nursing staff, our individuals that are out there, all our medical professionals that are working out there. One of the things that we constantly get is, a lot of the staff mention that, they're working double shift, triple shift. We're flooding the system. What is the solution for us not to be flooding the system and to give y'all a break?
We need the public to act, to help us. And I've said that many times with discussions with the media and on my posts and with my colleagues. So the basic fact is that what we're seeing right now is the product of events that occurred 2 or 3 weeks ago. And what we continue to see is, if people continue to do what they're doing, and if they don't heed to the advice of the public authorities concerning, social distancing and wearing masks and hand hygiene and sheltering when they don't need to, no public gathering of more than 10 people, and all the things that come with that. If they continue doing that, then we will continue to see this surge persistently and consistently over weeks. And that's the problem with that. We can sustain a surge over a week or two. We cannot sustain a surge over several weeks. The staff, the team, the hospitals will become overburdened, tired, and burnt out. And we will be lacking resources in all forms and shapes. So That's why I've urged the public to start working and heed the advice of the public authorities on the simple things that we need to do. Very simple things, 3 or 4 of them, and they're not hard to do. And that changes the outcome for us and for the community and for the economy as a whole.
Doctor, how do you feel about herd immunity and its efficacy, and how close are we to it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, it's on the screen. How do you feel about herd immunity and its efficacy, and how close are we to it?
We're not close. We need, for herd immunity to be effective, you have to have around maybe 50 to 60 to 70% of the population being infected. We're nowhere close to that. We have clusters of infections around the nation. We can't even say that the nation is homogeneous in that type of infection. It's heterogeneous. So when you talk about community spreads, you talk about each different community in different states and in different cities and different counties. So the way the virus spreads is somewhat bizarre in terms of its transmissibility. The other thing is, as I discussed earlier, it's about your immunity. We're not sure. It's still too early to predict how long our immunity is going to last. Usually you need to study a virus over a year or two to predict the kind of immunity that you can develop. We're still too early into that. So I don't think anyone can make predictions about what's going to happen with herd immunity. As I said, this is going to take us anywhere between 2 to 5 years to figure out, even after vaccination, where we're going to end up and if we're going to have herd immunity. I'm sure by the end of these several years, we're not going to have these large influx of cases and severities that we've had at the beginning of it. But we're going to continue to have fluctuations and ups and downs until we develop a vaccine, number one, and until we find out how aggressive and how strong our immunity is as a population.
Doctor, could you let us know what coded means and the protocols after a person goes through this?
What do you mean? Sorry, can you ask the question again?
If a person's in the hospital with COVID codes, do they do CPR, and what's the process, and what does it mean?
Okay.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, so we have to treat each patient individually. We make it a big issue and deal to talk to family members and it's the communication part of it. Obviously, families are. The hospitals are not allowing visitors to come in due to health reasons and to protect the community. So, but we try to communicate with family members early on, so we understand and they understand what we're heading and what we're doing. And there are certain factors that we look at depending on their age and their comorbidities and their underlying disease, their oxygenation, the requirement for more oxygen or more support, non-invasive support, or ending up on the ventilator. Whether we need to continue with aggressive CPR, including cardiac resuscitation, cardiac respiratory support, and life support, or whether the family, after discussion with the healthcare workers, believe that that their loved ones would probably not want to go and suffer through these, knowing that some of these measures are likely futile in the sickest of our patients.
Dr. Mahdi, one of the concerns and the recent studies that came out was in regards to the virus being airborne and concerns in regards to the ventilation system being affected, in enclosed area. Is there any new science in regards to it?
We do what we can as best as we can in our facilities to make sure that the environment is as clean and healthy for the healthcare workers and for everyone around. We have systems and negative pressure rooms that we use. We use filtration wherever we can. And everyone is obviously wearing PPEs. We have escalated the need for, the different surgical and N95 masks in the hospital to a point where almost every patient contact might require an N95 mask as the prevalence and number of patients with COVID positive or suspected COVID is increasing in all hospitals.
Are we seeing younger patients without comorbidity in ICU?
Yes, we are. We are seeing patients in all population groups, whether it's from your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. We've seen a surge of patients in their 40s and 50s mostly. There are some patients in their 30s and others in their 20s. The large number of patients in the hospitals are And I don't have the exact number, but seeing what I'm seeing from my experience and from looking at the numbers lately, the last couple of weeks, the large number of patients have been in their late 40s, 50s, and early 60s.
Now, one of the
sorry, go. Okay, I apologize. Doctor, we've heard about this virus mutating. Is that something to be worried about, or is this something that the medical experts expected from this virus?
Mutation of the virus is expected. Of course, I'm not an epidemiologist or infectious disease specialist, but yes, I've seen the case reports or the discussions about the virus itself. A part of the nucleic acid has mutated to the point where the virus has become more virulent, or actually it's replicating faster, so its transmissibility is faster. It doesn't mean that it's, so let me correct myself, it doesn't mean it's more virulent, it means that it's more infective. So that transmission becomes faster and quicker. And the rho naught, the R naught, which is the transmissibility of the virus, might have increased because of that. These are case reports seen from the studies, I think, in Houston. We don't know yet. It's still too early to predict. But knowing the history of viruses in the past, the tendency of viruses, usually there's smart, non-living organisms that actually do mutate depending on the circumstances, depending on the stress of the virus, the host, the temperature, and many other factors that play into it.
Are we seeing a positive response from the patients we treat with the convalescent plasma?
We have. It's one of our best treatment modalities so far. Obviously, we hope that we would see more positive results with the treatment, but a large percentage of patients do very well. I've seen patients who we gave plasma one day and the next day they felt 100% better. We went down their oxygen, we decreased their oxygen support, they're breathing better, they're able to speak full sentences, they're able to become more mobile. So we've been using plasma. And that's why we urge the public. There are numbers that we've put on Facebook and other public media, and other hospitals have actually put on media about certain numbers you can call to donate, and you have to satisfy certain criteria, obviously, to be able to donate. So we do urge the public who have had the disease and have been over 28 days out of it and have had their immunoglobulin testing done to please donate plasma. We need it urgently.
Doctor, we spoke about earlier in regards to surges that the hospital is only able to maintain, certain surges. Recently, we had 4th of July. Is there an anticipation from the hospitals of a resurgence coming on from this past weekend?
We hope not. We believe, and I believe, that the public did listen, and most of the public did what they were supposed to do. Obviously, there's a small percentage of the public that decided that, they wanted to continue doing what they're doing, and they did not want to, to follow the advice of the public authorities. I'm hoping that small percentage of people is not going to affect the majority of people who actually did the right thing.
Let me ask you, Doctor, in regards to, there's a little bit of confusion with a lot of individuals in regards to after testing positive, then they'll test negative and they'll test positive. We actually had a doctor that tested positive, then came out negative and is again tested positive again. The concern is that a lot of individuals, they want to grasp onto the, hey, we're recovered. And I've been of the mindset that, we totally, completely don't understand what recovered really means. And that it varies from individual to individual, as are the treatments that you mentioned in regards to the plasma. Why the confusion, sir?
Well, the test is not 100% sensitive. So, and it's dependent on the operator. The PCR testing that we're talking about, which is what the mainstay or the gold standard for testing for COVID, is not 100% sensitive. So if you don't do the test, there's a correct way to do it. And if it's done at a large scale, you might get the sensitivity might go down. So sensitivities range anywhere between 72% to over 98 to 99%, depending on the assay, depending on which lab you take it to, depending on the people who are doing it. So testing positive is good. Testing negative doesn't mean you don't have the disease, especially if you have symptoms. If you have symptoms and your pretest probability of having the disease is high, you should be tested again. The more you get tested, the better the sensitivity.
Doctor, one of the questions in regards to going back to work. A lot of individuals have made mention of being able to go back to work after 14 days after having tested positive. Is it recommended for individuals who at one point tested positive and then waited the 14 days to go back to work, despite the fact that a lot of them haven't even received the second test in regards to clearing them?
Well, if you look at the new CDC guidelines, there are they outlined and they've changed their criteria for discharge and to stop the transmission, protection measures. And they either do it through symptom-based or through test-based. And depending on that, if the test, you have to do 2 tests which are negative, around 24, 72 hours apart. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a day or 2 apart, and they have to be 2 negative PCR tests. And if that's not doable, then you can do it by symptom-based. And the symptom-based is, 10 days from your last symptoms. And if you're no longer symptomatic, you don't have to really test for the PCR. But you have to look at your work policies and work policies, hospital policies, nursing home policies are all different. And you have to talk to your provider concerning what policies they're abiding by.
Some of the patients that we get to admit have a few non-distressful symptoms. Do they get hospitalized to monitor if their condition deteriorates? I believe that some of these patients can be discharged to make room for sicker ones. Or are we waiting for them to test negative? Your thoughts?
Well, the patients who are being admitted for person under investigation or PUIs are the ones who really require hospitalization. They are on higher oxygen concentration. They seem like they might be deteriorating. Their x-rays look like they're not doing well. They have other numbers or lab criteria that suggest that there is a trend towards deterioration. And these are the patients who are being admitted. Vague symptoms of, body aches or fever alone is not enough. You have to have really respiratory symptoms to be able to be admitted to the hospital with the COVID diagnosis or, presumptive diagnosis.
Is there any truth to the success of the steroid treatment that is inhaled?
Well, we worry about giving nebulized treatment to patients in the hospital. We try not to do so. I mean, unless patients are actually having severe asthma or they're having COPD exacerbation, then they require these treatments. But the fact that we've started patients on systemic steroids, IV steroids, that is far more superior to giving them, localized or inhaled steroids. The study that came out for the inhaled steroids was an earlier study, not really well randomized. So, there's many modalities to the treatment of COVID. Unfortunately, even plasma in itself is still under clinical trials, and we get plasma through the Mayo Research Clinic, and you have to be involved in the research to be able to give the plasma. You have to have consents and all that. So whatever treatments we're giving right now are treatments because we believe that patients can be enrolled in studies so that we can eventually find the effect of these treatments long term. And all the other treatments that we can think of, whether it's this or that, should be involved in randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trials, prospective trials, for us to be able to make treatment changes or change our practice concerning these modalities. Care is supportive care. More than 90% of the care of COVID patients is what we've been doing for years and years and years in the ICU setting or in the hospital setting. And it's mostly supportive care.
One of the biggest concerns that I've gotten out there, Dr. Mari, is pregnancies. Individuals, who are pregnant, who have tested positive or afraid of testing positive. Does COVID-19 affect pregnancies or the child that is born?
There are studies out there on pregnant women who have had COVID. The ones that I know of and the studies that I know of have shown no morbid or mortality effects on the child or the bearing child. So, but you treat the patient if they're severe and deteriorating. You treat them as any other patient, of course, keeping in mind. You have to keep in mind the radiological diagnostics and the medications that can affect the fetus. So they're treated like the other COVID patients.
Doctor, what's the age that you've been seeing predominantly in the ICUs? And what is the success rate? I know everybody's different, but what is the success rate usually for people being on ventilators?
We started off when this disease started off back in Europe, and then ended up in the United States, in China, Europe, and the United States. The mortality from being intubated was always a golden number that was said to be 80%. So 80% of patients who get intubated don't make it, and there's only 20% survivability. But that was that. And as time lapsed, and as we are seeing a younger generation of people being intubated with less comorbidities, we have seen that more. And then with different supportive care that we've tried, and we've basically used trial and error in using the ventilator machines and using steroids, convalescent plasma, making sure that the patients are not getting too much fluids. There are certain things that we've worked in the ICU that have helped us get patients in a better position than they were a few months ago. And the mortality rate now has gone further down beyond 80%. It's gone down, probably around 40 or 50%. It's still high, but it's less than what it was, several months ago. And that's how it is with the progression of the disease. As you start to learn more about the disease, you understand its microbiology, its kinetics, its transmissibility, who it affects and how it affects these people, then you can understand what treatment modalities you can work with and try to help these patients.
Dr. Mai, is it possible for a person that was infected with COVID, get sick, and spread COVID again later on, like maybe next year when we hit our second wave?
There are cases of patients who had COVID, initially very few case reports, and convalesced from their disease, and then had COVID again and got infected with it. As I said earlier, the immunity is very variable. It depends on obviously the person, their immune system, genetics maybe play a role in that. So people can get the disease more than once. If you get the disease, you're not immune to the disease. You can get it again.
What are treatment options for patients with COVID that do not require hospitalization? Some doctors prescribe hydrochloroquine. What's your take on it, sir?
I would have loved not to have a take on it. We haven't been using it in the hospitals because two large randomized controlled studies involving thousands and thousands of patients from Europe, multi-center, showed that the hydroxychloroquine with it or with azithromycin showed no benefit in mortality or length of stay in the hospital. And there was a tendency towards having side effects, whether it's like EKG changes or other cardiac arrhythmias. So we don't use it in the hospital. We used it initially when we thought it was beneficial, but we stopped using it. We're resorting to other modalities, as I said, the convalescent plasma and steroids and other modalities that we use in supportive care in the ICU. In the outpatient setting, I'm not sure if there are physicians who are prescribing it, prophylactically or otherwise, but there's no concrete data that suggests that hydroxychloroquine does make a difference in outcome.
So what is your take on budesonide? Budesonide? Did I say that right?
Yeah, we discussed that. That's inhaled steroid, budesonide.
Thank you.
And I discussed that we'd rather shy away from giving nebulized treatment to patients in the hospital, specifically that we're also adding, high-dose steroids systemically. So I don't think there's any proven benefit.
Doctor, one of the issues in regards to PPE and the lack of it, what have you all recommended any best practices in regards to keeping it clean?
We haven't had any shortages, although the surge has been beyond our expectations. We have been able to economize our PPEs. People have been careful. We've been able to maintain our PPEs, even though we can use, for example, an N95 mask. You can use it over a week if you know how to take care of it well and maintain it that well. If that N95 mask shows signs of wear and tear, then it can be disposed of. Same thing with the other devices that we've been using. So, and we haven't had a worsening or increased rate of infectivity. I actually believe that some of the staff that got infected in the hospitals might have got the infection from the community rather from the hospital itself. We have a more communicable disease in the community than we have in the hospital. I always give the quote of one of my very good mid-levels. She's a critical care nurse practitioner, and she tells me that while she's in the intensive care unit, she feels safer than she is outside in the community, because she knows that she's wearing her PPEs and and everyone is cautious and doing the right thing to maintain safety for everyone else.
Neurological issues are symptoms of concern with COVID-19. Could the virus activate a latent mental illness such as schizophrenia?
I'm not sure if we can deduct that. It's too early. It's going to be interesting to find out what the long-term sequelae of the disease are. I think we will find that out within 6 months to a year. It's a very novel disease. It's only been out for a few months, and the long-term sequelae will eventually come out.
Doctor,
any recommendations, doctor? I know you may have to go. Your time is very limited. Thank you so much. What is your your message to the people of Cameron County? How should we live our lives from here on out?
I discussed that previously on other shows, and I said, well, this is a new world order, and I don't mean it in a conspiracy theory way. So we have to live with it. It's a new era. Whether we like it or not, it's here. It's here, and it's going to stay with us for I don't know how long, but it's going to stay with us until it becomes a normal, maybe eventually becomes like an epidemic or like the regular flu or other virus that we've passed through. But we haven't seen any kind of a pandemic like this in 102 years. The last pandemic that we've experienced in that form was in 1918. There was nothing that came even close to it since that year. So you have to understand the gravity of this virus. We need to heed to the discussions of the public authorities, the CDC, the WHO, and all other authorities around our nation. When we say, and we stress on it day in and day out, that social distancing, wearing masks, hand hygiene, no social gathering, no more gathering more than 10 people. Science has shown and proven it. Data is there. It's all over the science media that if you do these things, you can bring down the disease and you can control it. In 1918, when they had the pandemic and it killed 1 to 2% of the global population, they looked at the 17 cities in the United States that actually mitigated these parameters that we talk about 102 years later. And they found out that overall mortality went down by 20 to 50% in these cities. That's how effective these measures are. They're simple, but they are so effective that if we just go and do, and we've noticed that. Look at our community. Look at the RGV back in February and March and April. We were like, okay, where is the disease? We can't see it. We had clusters, obviously, from nursing homes and from other areas, and it happened. We were able to control it. But overall, the disease was controllable because why? Because the community decided, well, this is something serious and we need to work on it. And then suddenly we decided, okay, well, we're bored and we cannot tolerate this anymore. We have to go back to our normal lives. Understandable, but normal life is a different life right now. Normal life means that you have to be careful. You have to watch your fellow man. You have to take care of your community. Wearing a mask is not just about you. It's about taking care of your community. We have to take care of our vulnerable people. We have to take care of our sick ones. And these are the ones that eventually end up in the hospitals and overwhelming our system. So that's what I need the community to work as a whole so that we can overcome this disease.
Well, Dr. Mahdi, again, we appreciate you coming on. And again, as Frankie mentioned, your time is very valuable. And we as a community are very appreciative. We also appreciate your posts. They're very, very, very informative and very to the point. So please keep on posting, Dr. Mahdi, and keep on educating. It's some of the posts that I most like to share. So again, we want to thank you so very, very much. And again, whenever you have a couple of other minutes, please come back and share them with us, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you. So have a beautiful rest of the weekend. Stay safe, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that was awesome.
It was awesome. It was I mean, again, guys, our doctors out there, our nurses, it's very, very impressive. Their time is very, very limited, very, very valuable. We do appreciate Dr. Mahdi. We do appreciate all our personnel out there that's on the front lines. And again, sorry that we didn't get to answer all your questions out there, folks. But again, his time is very, very limited. But we do appreciate the time that he was on here. Again, Dr. Mahdi has his page out there, and he's posting for our community on his page. And his posts are open, so y'all have the opportunity to go out there and go read a lot of stuff. Let me tell you, I find his stuff that he posts on social media very informative, very to the point, very direct, and I like it when it's very, very direct. So again, thanks to Dr. Mahdi, thanks to everyone out there that is taking care of our individuals. One of the questions that was coming out a lot, and I think we do have John Chambers coming on soon. I love John. John's a great friend. But one of the questions that came on, was in regards to returning onto campus, guys. And let me tell you, Dr. Maddie made mention that something that I think that we've shared constantly and regularly, guys. We cannot live in fear. We have to be very, very cautious. We have to take care of each other. We have to work together. That is the constant message that a lot of these individuals are out there giving, and it's something that we really, really need to start to adhere to, sir, guys. Really, really have to start to adhere to. Again, and for individuals that were out there, oh, okay, you're fear mongering. No fear mongering. Please don't live in fear. Do not be scared. Do your best to go out there and live your life as normal as possible. I get a lot of flack. We would be nothing without a medical personnel, 100%. I get a lot of flack. Oh, that's what I said. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to try and do as much as humanly possible as I was doing before. I'm going to go still buy me my used clothes. I'm still going every morning, go eat breakfast with Papa, but I'm going to be cautious and I'm going to be careful. And every single time that Papa is out there, very limited in regards to, wanting to adhere to a lot of the guidelines, because Papa a veces es terco, I try to redirect as much as humanly possible with Papa. But again, guys, we have to take care of each other. It's our responsibility. And the question was coming out in regards to what Dr. Mahdi thought about going back to school. And he says something that we've said, guys, I don't want to go back into a lockdown. I don't want to affect the economy. I want our economy to prosper. I want us to do well as a community and, yes, as a nation. But we have to be responsible. Now, with that said, there's a lot of different communities out there that have different circumstances and situations than we do. Guys, we are in trouble. And someone asked the question in regards to the discrepancy in regards to the numbers of Hidalgo County and Cameron County. Cameron County is not being forthright in regards to the numbers. I don't care what they say out there. They're not being forthright, guys. We mentioned in regards to a lot of the individuals. All you have to do, look at this. All you have to do, you don't have to believe anything that I say. All you have to do is go through your news feed, and you're going to start seeing this little ribbon, this black ribbon constantly popping out in your news feed. And if you don't, it's because you probably don't have a lot of friends on your friends list. Let me tell you, I have a lot. And I'm seeing this little black ribbon going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, guys. And that's because we are having way too many deaths in Cameron County. That said, all you do is look at a post of my friend Jorge out there. The in the city of Brownsville in the stupid, pathetic Herald. There, he said he had never seen 30 individuals passed away on the Brownsville Herald reported. Take into consideration, guys, and we've talked to funeral homes out there. Our funeral homes are reporting 70 deaths in the past 3-4 days. 70 deaths here in Brownsville, Texas. We've had 4 or 6 reported by Cameron County. Why are we breaking down in regards to the numbers out there, guys? And again, it's not fear-mongering. It's not that we want to scare people. People just need to know the truth. We need to know the truth. With that said, the truth is that we have teachers continuously coming out there positive at BISD and at our other schools, positive. And finally, they're starting to be a little bit more quicker in regards to responding to individuals that have tested positive and let the community know. And I'm going to take some credit for that, because if you constantly put pressure and pressure and pressure on these individuals, they're bound to bend, and they are bending, folks. They are bending. They're becoming a little bit more forthright in regards to the seriousness of the matter. With that said, they've yet to come out and give condolences to the people, to our staff that have passed away from COVID-19. No one on the board, no one in administration has gone out there and offered condolences to the family members of our teachers who have passed away from COVID-19. Nothing. Zip. Zero. Now, they had a meeting today. In regards to coming back on campus because it's not going to be avoided, folks. This board is adamant. This superintendent is hell bent on bringing our students back on campus. It's a given. So now they're talking about cleaning after the students. And that's going to be yet one more responsibility of our teachers out there. One more responsibility. Besides taking temperature, besides doing all that amount of paperwork that they're already doing, now it's going to be their responsibility to make sure that the students help her or him clean up after a first group is gone off to another class. Does that make sense to anyone out there? Anyone?
Erasmo, you hit it right on the nail. Death is at our doorstep. Unfortunately, BISD had 2 deaths, if I'm not mistaken, recently. Who's to say that they're not maybe more before the start of the school year? Better late than never. So props to BISD for actually, seeing the reality that we're living in and canceling the workouts, the athletes that were set to go back next week, if I'm not mistaken, on the 15th.
Monday.
So on Monday, I'm sorry. So, better late than never. But then again, we still have the issue of our teachers going back. Now, I think you posted it, Osmo, if either the students or the teachers were the ones that were supposed to clean after, let's say, after a certain period, getting ready for the next coming class that's coming in. That's too much pressure, guys. If we as adults could barely even clean very well, how can we leave that responsibility to students, to children? It's something that it's very mind-boggling. Again, Los Fresnos has taken the initiative, and they will take the initiative of starting school late. Now, there's a possibility, and we've seen it, Osmo, districts throughout the state, districts throughout the nation already start stating that they will be going into distant learning. And again, not to toot, our own horn, but this is something that has been said back since March and April. Hey, let's start distant learning now, back in March and April. Forget the packets. That way we can learn and fix the kinks, so to speak, of what works and what doesn't with distant learning. Now we're going to force our teachers, if we go to distant learning, to learn on the fly. Again, this district has not given the community, has not given the teachers and staff the resources, the proper guidance needed in order for them to be successful. I hate to say it, but it seems like if they're just at the last minute, that's what they're going to be like, there you go, figure it out. We shouldn't be like that. As leaders, we should make decisive decisions for the people, to give them guidance, to give them a certain direction. But I don't see that with our district, Erasmo.
I agree with Dr. Saavedra. Why is the health department numbers so different than the funeral home? Guys, it is frustrating. Let me tell you, I do the groundwork, folks. I don't come on here at 9 o'clock at night every night and every morning and I talk out of my butt. Sometimes I do, but not all the time. But anyway, guys, I actually went and spoke with our funeral home personnel directly. And they were the ones that shared with me this humongous number of individuals that have passed away in the past 3-4 days. As of right now, the Cameron County has reported 4 for Brownsville. 4. It's not real. It's not real. And the more that happens, the more irresponsible people are going to be going out there to Walmart without face coverings, taking their children back and forth. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because I have my sister texting me every night, tripping out because she's a nurse. And you know what? I'm pretty ticked off about it too. Because we're overcrowding the health system, our doctor's offices, our hospitals, and we're placing them in extra risk. It's crazy, guys. And all because we don't want to adhere to certain guidelines. Wear the damn mask. Social distance. Stay away from each other. And Cameron County, goodness gracious, give us accurate numbers a little bit quicker. Why is it that Hidalgo County is out there reporting 16, 13, 12, and we're reporting 1 or 2. It's not true. The numbers aren't right. They're not. And that's why the school district is so adamant of sending thousands of students onto campus. Thousands. It's going to be a mess, guys.
Erasmo, coach is saying, let me clean up my next class and stand outside the room to monitor the kids in between classes, which we already required to do. But these are chemicals, right? Or these are like disinfecting things. Is that something that we're going to give the responsibility to the students or to the teachers? Are we going to add to their job description? Like, not only are you supposed to teach the curriculum, teach instruction, but you're also supposed to do janitorial duties. Is that what we're coming to? It shouldn't be like that. The focus of the teachers should solely be for curriculum, for instruction. As it is, they already have a lot on their plate. To give them even another responsibility, and one might say, Frankie, it's just a wipe. It's just but it's the philosophy behind it. It's the mentality behind it. It's the principle. Are we going to actually give that responsibility to the teachers? Now, what happens if the teacher doesn't wipe? Does it clean well? Is it the teacher's fault, or is it leadership's fault? We should not give that responsibility to the teachers. They already have enough on their plate. Let's appreciate our teachers. Let's value what we have. Let's not give them stack on another thing for them to worry about. Oh, am I cleaning it right? We don't need them to be paranoid. We need them to be, in good sound in mind, to be able to teach our students, not to create anxiety towards them, and not to be having to deal with another responsibility that doesn't pertain to them, Erasmo.
Well, let me tell you guys, teachers out here, I rarely trust my students with a spray bottle to help clean. Teachers, let me tell you, you're going to have a list, and you're going to have to write down their temperature. Johnny, 98.2, and Panchita, 100 or 90,000 or something. You're going to have to start writing down their temperature and keep a log, and then make a master schedule at the end of the week and turn that in to the department head, and then or to the principal, to the vice principal, and then you're going to have the meeting upon that, and then you're going to have another meeting and another meeting and another meeting. Am I lying, folks? That's exactly what's going to happen. The teacher will be blamed if someone gets sick. Yes, and you're going to have parents out there screaming at you without a mask on and screaming and throwing all that saliva all over the place. Yes, I'm screaming now, Mayor Mendez.
Erasmo, and who are the parents gonna blame? Leadership's gonna be like, it was the teacher's fault. It was the teacher's responsibility. Let's not do that to our teachers, guys. We're better than that. We should be better than that. Again, this all falls on leadership. We have seen how parents are dissatisfied with the current situation going on at BISD. Los Fresnos has listened. Other districts in the state, throughout the nation, have listened to their community. What will it take, BISD? You have 2 deaths on your hands. One janitor, if I'm not mistaken, Erasmo, is sick of COVID because he was forced to work. What is it going to take? How many bodies are going to have to go down in order for us to say, you know what, we were wrong? And that's very hard. That's something that I've learned in my young life. Admitting our faults is very difficult. But the great thing about life is admitting when we're wrong and doing something about it. But it's sad whenever we let our ego get the better of us, Erasmo. And I hope that leadership at BISD does not do that. It's okay to admit that we're wrong. Let's fix it. Let's fix this for our community.
The truth is that the death rate across the United States is going down. No, it's not. I'm sorry, Abraham. I don't know where you're getting these numbers, but let me tell you, if you're getting the numbers from any agency that is similar to Cameron County, then your numbers are wrong, because Cameron County only reported 2 deaths today. I can easily count 12. Easily. On one hand, I can count 12. Not because I have fat fingers, but I can count 12 on one hand. So no, guys, you cannot base your facts on social media posts out there. posted by individuals who have an agenda. Look, Trump is crazy. And I like Puppy Trump. And Trump is nuts. Betsy DeVos is probably the most stupid individual next to Minerva Peña. Betsy DeVos and Minerva Peña. They're best buddies. They're nuts. It's nuts, Betsy DeVos. What the heck was this administration thinking, putting Betsy DeVos on there? She's ignorant. Ignorant. I can't stand her. And Greggy, I'm mad at Greggy too. Municipality has a solution, but they don't want to apply it to the population. Mm-hmm. No, I don't want the grandson cleaning for the next set of students. Students should not have that responsibility. And let me tell you guys, our teens are falling prey to this already. Look at the list that came out. Our 20-year-olds are crowding up the doctor's offices. They're taking up all the medication. And, you know, they're going to be okay, hopefully. Not all of them, because already 20, 30-year-olds are succumbing to it. 40-year-olds are already coding at the hospitals, guys. So the next age group that's going to fall prey are our teens. Our teens. And it's going to happen. And listen to me, guys. It's going to happen as soon as we go back to school. It's going to happen. And, you know, we're going to be out here next month about this time. No, we're going to be out here in 6 weeks, guys. I mark my word. In 6 weeks. And I'm going to say, didn't we say that 6 weeks ago? That's what I'm going to say. Because then our teens are going to be succumbing because there are going to be so many individuals that test positive. Now, it doesn't make any sense to send the kids back to school. It doesn't. Think about it. And I don't care what the school board tells you. They're lying to you. Look at the school districts. We've shown you on this page. We put up 2 of them out there already of school districts that have decided and opted on going 100% distant learning, remote learning until the first 6 weeks. And after the first, now that's a good start. And after the first 6 weeks, then they're going to decide to either come back or to, you know, and reevaluate the situation. It's madness. I will send me pick. Oh, hey, here comes John Chambers, my man. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing? I got this figured out finally. I had to use my phone though. I couldn't get the laptop to work.
That's okay. No worries. Day one should be about signing up every student to Google Classroom because at some point the school will close again. And my cousin here is exactly right, guys. Throughout the campuses, what we're going to start to find is after the first week, 2 weeks, we're going to start to see a lot of individuals saying, "Oops, we're going to cancel class because Johnny boy out there started to test positive." So now the whole class has to go quarantine at home. And then more people are going to be upset because then, you know, school is going to stop being that daycare for them. It's going to stop being the daycare. And now they're going to have to be back home anyway. And by then, no one prepared for it because the people that are adamant, oh, I want my kids to go back to school, those people are not going to prepare for it. And oh yeah, I want them there at school. Well, guess what? In 2 weeks, they're going to send them back home because the whole damn classroom tested positive. Hey, John, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm glad you're not yelling at me there.
Not yet. But let me tell you, John, this runoff election, oh my gosh, are you not glad you're not a part of it, sir?
Right.
One of the things that's come out there is and I'll mention a couple of them. You know, Eric is going out and saying, hey, well, Lucia's too old, not efficient, not running the place. And then Lucio is out there, well, the La Raza, his Raza guy said, oh, no, Eric has no experience. Never been a police officer. Never worn a badge. Well, he wore one of those little stick-on badges that you get when you go to the dentist. But that's the only one he's ever worn. John, do you have those problems?
No, I've got quite a bit of experience in law enforcement, and I'm ready, fit, and able to fulfill the duties that are required.
Now, this is your second time running for sheriff of Cameron County. The first one, we had, you know, a couple of hiccups out there.
Right. Well, I'm the newcomer in town, I guess, and I just didn't fit the profile of what they wanted. So, but I'm back, and I believe it's up to the voters now to decide what kind of sheriff they want.
Just in your opinion, who do you think is going to take this runoff?
Oh, that's going to be a tough one. It's hard to say. I've heard both ways. I've heard people speaking that the sheriff's going to take it, and other people saying that Eric's going to take it. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be close.
How do you think that this COVID-19 has affected the numbers during this runoff? Do you think it really affected people coming out and voting?
I think it has affected it. I spoke with the election administrator earlier today, and he said that he's thinking that it's going to be about on par. But of course, that's up to his his perspective. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think there's definitely been some impact from it.
So let me ask you, John, how have you been doing during this COVID-19 season?
Oh my goodness, it's been a mess. We've, of course, I have a cleaning business, so we've been staying busy in mitigating some of the hazards associated with COVID-19. But personally, I've been doing what I'm supposed to do, keeping social distance, wearing face protection. I think I've, like the song says, washed the skin off my hands with the hand sanitizer, trying to keep clean and make sure I don't spread anything. But it's been something else. It's definitely a change in lifestyle.
One of our things that is coming out in the community is in regards to individuals, going out there and doing the nasties in regards to not covering their mugs and, socializing. One of the things that we saw this weekend was craziness out there at South Padre Island. Is it an issue, John, individuals out there not adhering to the guidelines?
Well, that's a problem. Of course, I understand, a lot of the frustrations going on in the world is from people being told by their government that they can't do something. That's just doesn't sit well with human nature. But people just have to realize, and they need to be educated, that it is for everyone's safety. This is not us against them. It's all of us, pitching in together to protect one another. Getting out, it's hard to stay in your home or on your own property, and it's I can see it both ways. You need fresh air in your lungs, you need to breathe, but also going and being around a lot of people that you're not familiar with that potentially have the disease is not safe at all. And it's prolonging prolonging what's going to happen. We need to try to adhere to it and protect ourselves and protect each other, and hopefully that we can get this under control.
Let me ask you, John, one of the things that, you are running as the Republican candidate for sheriff, which, is not very common here. You do know that I tend to be very, very conservative in a lot of my beliefs. What is your take on President Trump's Betsy DeVos and Greg Abbott stance in regards to opening schools up again?
Well, I'm not an expert in that field, and I think that those are things that are better left to the experts in each position. In law enforcement, we typically uphold the mandates of the people that set the rules. But opening up, I think there's better ways we can probably do some things. There's always a better way, and I think that more people need to put their heads together and listen to the dissenters. Even everybody has valuable information and input on these circumstances, and I think there's in my own family we've been discussing that very issue about what we're going to do, what are my grandkids going to do this fall, and I think they're electing more to keep the distance and do schooling over the internet and things like that.
People do die from other things, Erasmo. Te amo. I love you too, Mariana. But let me tell you, 70 people did not die of something other than COVID this past weekend. I understand what you're saying. And we had 2 homicides. We had 2 individuals that got shot. Montano and Alanis. They got shot this weekend. So we can't say that those died from COVID. Some people might want to say COVID, but no, they actually got shot. I understand what you're saying, Mariana. But again, the number in regards to a normal July month is not even close. Sorry,
Mr. Chambers. We've heard how over at least 40 defendants at the Cameron County Jail have tested positive for COVID-19, as well as some detention officers and some sheriff's deputies. Is that something that's inevitable, or do you think that something could have been done to prevent this from spreading in the jails?
Oh, I believe there most certainly is. You've got to stay ahead of the game. You've got to take the advice of the professionals in the field, other people that know how to sanitize. I think a lot of it is sanitation. Jails, there's a lot of people in a very close proximity. It's very hard to stop a spread. So once it starts, you need to be proactive, of course, but you need to be very aggressive in separating people and individuals that might have it. So I think there's some things that can be done, and I think this is still new, uncharted territory for many people. But this is where you ask for help. You don't be afraid. Don't try to be the Lone Ranger. You need to ask people, ask the experts, get their input, and try to figure out what's the best way to mitigate these circumstances.
And again, Eva's right. All you have to do is look at don't look at the Herald. The Herald sucks. But look at the the online obituaries in regards to the funeral homes, and they're overwhelmed. And someone asked in regards to getting someone from the funeral homes on here, guys. They're overworked. They're really, really overworked. I mean, if we have 10 doctors, we've got 2 funeral home directors. I mean, our funeral morticians. That's just what it happens. In that percentage. And I'm not saying we only have 2. I'm saying in percentage wise, we probably got like a 10%. And they're busy, guys. They're very, very busy. And I'm glad that they took a little bit of their time yesterday to share some information with you, with us in regards to what's going on. So, John, what COVID-19 has transformed the way that most individuals here, they go out there and do politics. I, on the other hand, this COVID-19 is exactly how I do politics. I do politics on social media 100%. I don't go knock on doors. I don't go hug people, kiss babies, and slap. I don't do any of that stuff. How is John Chambers going to do politics these next couple of months?
Well, pretty much the way you just said it. That's the way I've been doing it as well. I mean, of course, I have my professional business where I have to be out in public and use, and practice safety. But most of my campaigning has been by social media, and I'm continuing to do that. Zoom meetings, we're having that with my supporters and what have you, and word of mouth. This is a grassroots effort. We can't depend on the news media. We can't depend on the establishment. We have to get out there and get the people to support us and to learn what's going on, understand the issues, and not make this a he said, she said game. This is for the future of all of us. No matter who wins the sheriff's election, he's going to be the sheriff of the whole county, not just his supporters. So we have to keep that in mind and remember that words that come out of our mouths can't be taken back. So we need to look forward and fix the problems. And I plan to do that through the social media and any other avenues that can safely be pursued.
What can we expect from John Chambers if elected in November?
Elected November, first we'll take a week break because you don't want to make any rash decisions. And then we'll start planning our administration. There will be a lot of changes once we take office in January. We have to, some things will have to continue, and phase in. You can't just shake up the whole ship overnight. This is a large county, a large department, and you generally want to keep the best, most honest, integrity-filled people in the sheriff's office. And there's a lot of great people out there. There's a lot of great sheriff's deputies. There's a lot of great people that work for the sheriff's department. But I think a lot of their potential has been left unused or untapped. I think I think there's a lot of things that can be done a lot different. You can utilize different personnel more than what's being done at this time. And certain people, their expertise probably doesn't need to be used quite often.
John, one of the things that we are living, well, besides living with COVID-19, COVID-16, and COVID-10, one of the other big topics out in the news is the arrest of Sylvia Atkinson for taking bribes. Have you had any experience with federal cases in regards to federal agents coming down and arresting individuals? You were the city police chief in Indian Lake, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Have
Yes,
you had any experience with federal agents coming in and arresting individuals? What's your take on it?
we have. And one thing that you learn, especially working in a small town, is somebody has to keep the rapport open with the public. You can't always be the one doing everything. And whenever I would find certain crimes being committed that perhaps another agency could better uh, address the problem, or let them be the bad guys, let them come in. We've had people even in Indian Lake that were selling weapons to the cartel, that were changing, manufacturing weapons to be fully automatic. That happened in our very little town. Well, instead of me going and trying to take down a big bus like that, I worked with federal agencies. And even recently, I've been in contact with federal agencies about issues that have occurred here in Cameron County, and they've contacted me. And there's things that there's help out there, and there's state help. There's a lot of untapped help that we just need to ask for. We need to ask for the Attorney General's office help. We need to ask for the Federal Bureau of Investigation to step in more, and we need a more coordinated effort. And that's one thing I would like to see between all law enforcement. It seems like here in Cameron County, everybody's in competition against one another. Everybody wants to take credit for something, for some imaginary praise or something like that. And really, the sheriff and the chiefs of all the cities need to have breakfast together once a month. They need to sit down and talk about concerns in each of their community. We need to share information. We don't need to be trying to protect what we know as if it's some top secret information. We see the sheriff's office overstepping city police departments quite often. There's a lot of mistrust between agencies, and that's some of the things that I want to address immediately to try to start us all working together. We need to help one another out, step in where asked and where needed, and not overstep. And don't build walls up between us. We need to be building bridges. That's something I said in my last campaign, and I noticed other politicians took my motto, but we need to be building bridges and not walls.
Well, in regards to building up walls, we know that you had some situations with our district attorney, the district attorney's office. Will our bygones be bygones, and you think that we'll be working well with the district attorney once we enter into the sheriff's office?
Like I said, this is about the future, not about the past. There's a lot of things that have happened that shouldn't have happened. A lot of misunderstandings. A lot of just a lot of things that shouldn't have happened, but that's not going to solve our problems.
Right.
So yes, we'd have to work together, and we would work together. I don't see an issue with that at all. And of course, if he were doing something illegal and inappropriate, it would be addressed by the appropriate authorities. But I think us working together is very important. We have to solve the crime and solve the issues that affect all of us.
I appreciate your answer. I think that's one of the things that's very important, to let go of different situations and move forward on it. But we still need to make sure that, we have those markers set up so that we don't commit the same mistakes over and over and over again, and don't let other individuals to make those mistakes. I've been very adamant about the city of Brownsville removing a rock here from our city park. It's just a rock. It's just a rock, but it is a landmark. It's something that's there, should always remain constant in our minds as a marker in regards to never let them screw us over again. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Erasing history doesn't change the future. It's just the opposite. If you don't remember what's happened in the past, then you're more apt to repeat it. And so I don't think that's where we need to be focusing our attention on by any means. I think us getting to know one another, sitting down and chatting with each other, having talks like this, and removing, tearing things down is never a good thing. I think building and reshaping is the way to go.
Julie, with all due respect, are you drinking? If you're referring to me, I'm I'm drinking Be Light. But if you're making one of those stupid comments, you're on the wrong show, baby. Uh,
Water.
yeah. Call the governor's office and tell them to start the school year just to learn. Hey, probably 512-463-2000, and it's on our page. Eric is going to take it. I don't know. This has been I agree with you. This has been an interesting primary because I didn't expect Eric to get as many as many votes as he did get. I was actually a little bit surprised that he got as many votes as he did. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be based on who got their people out to vote despite COVID-19. That's what it's going to boil down to. And again, I think it helps Eric that there is COVID-19 because a lot of the younger kids, a lot of the younger folks are probably more prone to go out like they did to South Padre Island, go out to vote than a lot of the 70, 80, 60-year-olds that would probably come out and vote for Sheriff Lucio. Does that make any sense to anyone? No? Okay. Probably just to me.
You know, this election is going to be one like no other. It's been one that's very heated, you know, since the beginning when Eric Garza announced his candidacy for Sheriff of Cameron County. He started, you know, throwing the race card. And lately we've been hearing, you know, from Sheriff Lucio in regards to experience, in regards to, you know, is Eric Garza prepared to handle, you know, the size and of the department, which is Cameron County and the jail. Mr. Chambers, what can you bring that's different from the current administration that we have in place right now?
Well, I do have 15 years experience as a chief of police, you know, and regardless of the size of the departments, that brings the administration's the same. No one has to administer the department, understanding the hazards of administrating a large department. But I do have the business experience. You know, I have over 200 employees currently. Of course, my son is taking over management of the business. And once I'm in office, I'll no longer be involved with those businesses. But understanding how to manage a budget, it's a little different when you're spending other people's money. You know, sometimes you can lose focus. And whereas I know what our revenue is, I know what our income is, and I have to live within my means, or the government's not going to let me not live within my means. And with a government agency, sometimes that's not, they don't have to follow the same standards. But because I have actually had a private business and understand managing private finances, I will be better able to manage the sheriff's department and understand, you know, budgets, and understand seeking outside help and using other resources that might be available to us.
What about the extradition of inmates from Dallas, Houston, and Liberty counties to Cameron County? What's your take on it?
Well, of course, that depends on the crime. I mean, if it's minor traffic or things like that, then no, there's no sense in spending thousands of dollars to extradite. But of course, you know, if there's somebody's committed a murder, there's no stopping anywhere in the world. We need to go after them to extradite them. Same thing for sexual assault or anything like that. Anything major and serious, I think we should. But it goes both ways. You know, many times we may have some of their prisoners from other parts of the country, and they have ours, and we need to work together on extraditing.
Yeah, you could watch Dr. Madi. As soon as this is over, you'll have the option to go back. Why are there other districts doing the right thing by starting virtual learning? BISD needs to get on the board. These guys are very, very thick-headed, and they don't want to change. They don't want to compromise. Again, I don't get it. I'm actually at that point where, honestly, today I was actually thinking that I'm living like in the Twilight Zone. It's like, you know, after getting a lot of the notes from what happened today, you know, and thank you to the person who was at the meeting who sent me the notes. You know, after getting the notes, I'm going like, I must be living in the Twilight Zone. You know, John, you still remember that show, The Twilight Zone?
I remember it. I do.
I mean, doesn't it feel, John, though, that sometimes here in Cameron County, you know, the way things operate. And look, John, we run for office because we want to offer a choice, something different. You know, that's why I run for office. You know, a lot of these people up here are like, oh, well, we don't like Erasmo. Well, you know, a lot of people don't like me, but I'm counting on a lot more people that actually do like me. But, you know, I run for office because I really feel that I can, you know, make a difference, make a change, because there's something wrong in the process. You know, you don't run for office, John. You don't run for office if everything's hunky dory, if everything's peachy keen. So, John, what issues are you concerned with so much that you'd put yourself and your family through this crap of running for office again?
The biggest thing that's going on is the compadre system, where everybody is if you're what belong to one family, you get the jobs. If you belong to a different one, you don't. If you get law enforcement protection if you do what these people want you to do, but not if these people. It's there has to be some consistency. You've got to be fair. It's something I learned working in the state prison. You have to be fair, but you have to be firm and consistent. The consistency is the big issue. Sure, we can be fair. It depends on at what side of the law you're on. You can be fair and you can be firm. That's not the issue right now, but the consistency is. There's double standards with everybody, and people could get top-notch law enforcement protection from the sheriff's office. If they do certain things or they support a certain person, they're protected 100%. But if you're a victim of a crime and you're not important enough, or it's just passed over. I can think of several instances right now of people in Cameron County that have reported to me their circumstances, and I've even seen myself, where certain people don't get the protection of the law, or they even get picked on. I've even seen another person recently, and I reached out to that person that they were a victim of a crime, and it was switched around as if they were some kind of notorious perpetrator of a crime, and that shouldn't happen. The victims are the victims, and the perpetrators are the perpetrators, and that role switches between all of us. I mean, sometimes we break the law, sometimes we stand up for the law. The problem is we all need to aspire to be upstanding citizens, and so I think putting it through is I have something to offer, and I have a different perspective, and not only for law enforcement here, but throughout the nation. I hope that we can start here and it spreads, but we need to get back to community policing, genuine community policing, not speech topics where people say, "Oh, I believe in community policing," when they actually don't. What that is taking off your sunglasses, making eye-to-eye contact with somebody when you meet up with them, rolling down your windows, getting out of the car, saying hi to people that are having a barbecue or waving at the kids, interacting with the public. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, people only have dealings with law enforcement in a negative sense. And we need to change that. They need to see that the police are the good guys. And we need to be the good guys. We need to get out of the cars and interact with people. That's true community policing. And one thing I would do also is have resident deputies, where deputies are assigned to the same area every day, where they get to know their public. Now, the good to that is you build a rapport and you build trust with the community. The bad thing of it, you might not enforce the law as strongly as you should, but that's when you have overlapping roving officers to come in and help you out on that. But we need deputies that get to know their community. They work the same beat day in, day out. They know who the perpetrators are. They know who to watch out for. They build the rapport with the kids. They build the rapport with the parents. And that's something else, is deputies need to reaffirm parents' role in policing their own families. Everybody wants to rely on the police to do what they should be doing themselves. You have not only a right, but a duty to protect your family. That's a parent's role, to protect your family. And so many times you'll see a parent calling the police to come in because they can't discipline their children. And either they don't know how, which that's an education issue, we can teach them, or they're afraid, and they shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't be afraid to discipline their children the correct way. And that's where law enforcement can not only protect people, but they can also help educate people. And you do that by having community policing officers that are familiar with their communities.
AOPE, just a quick, cordially invites the superintendent and members of the board to sit in a life skills and kindergarten class all day long on the first day of school. Open invitation. Lead by example. Good. Sorry, Frankie.
No problem. Mr. Chambers, if elected in November, will you hold your employees accountable for their actions if they don't follow proper protocols?
No, most definitely. And I'll have an independent disciplinary panel to handle that, where there's no favoritism, where everybody, they're disciplined fairly, investigated and disciplined fairly. I do believe that I need to bring in an outside officer that's not from the area. A couple of officers that actually work internal affairs, that are not to investigate issues where they don't owe anybody special favors. They're going to be fair in their investigations and objective. And a lot of times, sheriffs, we can do that by sharing. If it's a serious issue involving our officers, we can ask a neighboring sheriff to come in and provide an investigator to investigate that. and we can do the same thing for them. And that hasn't been utilized in the past.
Innocent. One of the things that we do find out is that a lot of individuals are not prosecuted equally in Cameron County.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'll throw out an example. Well, again, I understand that I am well liked by a lot of individuals out here, but when I got arrested for my DWI and went through the whole process, let me tell you, it seemed like I had killed someone out there. I was actually making the front page of the Herald every other day, and it seemed like the entire force of the state of Texas and the court system in the city of Bronx were like, "It's a Class B misdemeanor. We've got to get him. We need to get him." And again, I went through the process, guys. I'm not saying that I shouldn't have gone through the process. I should have gone through the process for a Class B misdemeanor. But then you see a lot of other individuals who just, get a pass, who out there who actually wreck, Cameron County property, DWIs and get nothing for it. You get individuals who are related perhaps to the judicial system or the prosecutorial system who get a slap in the hand. You know, when is that going to stop, John, in Cameron County?
And that's where it has to start somewhere. It has to stop, and somebody has to initiate that. You know, one person by themselves can't do that. It's going to take years for the whole process to change. But it'll start with my office. Like I said, the fairness, the firmness, but mainly the consistency. That's what's lacking in Cameron County. People can understand, well, I did something wrong. I'll pay the price for it, as long
Yeah.
as they understand that it's not just them, that they're not being picked on or isolated. And that's where the consistency needs to step in, wrecking county vehicles and then falsifying reports on how they did it. And then being stated that it had no effect on the government's purpose for requiring that police report. That's ridiculous. But it's going to stay like that as long as everybody owes each other something or they have something on you. You know, nobody has anything on me. Nobody owes me anything. I've funded my campaign all by myself through our business. I don't owe anybody favors, but I also owe everybody consistency and honesty. I want to earn people's trust. One chance, elect me one time and you'll see the difference. You'll start seeing a change in Cameron County. Whenever other public officials start realizing, I don't have to take a bribe to do the right thing or to do what needs to be done. I don't have to take money to make sure a murderer is put in prison for the rest of his life. And I also don't have to let somebody go that's hurt someone because this person will pull a favor on me. Like, you remember when I did this for you 3 years ago? Now it's time for you to repay me this favor. That stuff's got to end. That has no place in our society. This is the United States. This is not some other country where justice should be sold or bartered with. It needs to be consistent. And by me doing my part and other agencies and other departments see that, okay, it's safe. We can do our part. We don't have to take bribes. We don't have to owe favors to people. We can do what's right and actually have that sense of self-gratitude that I did something good for my community instead of I did something good for my pocketbook.
100%. I mean, it's got to change. Again, my trouble, my process went through, earlier this year, and I faced it. I went through it and went through the whole deal. I just wish that other individuals throughout the county, were prosecuted, to the same extent as myself. But with that said, look at, I've said it, and I agree with you, John. I've said the same thing. I don't mind having gone through the process. I don't mind, having to do what anyone else would have to do. But with that said, I even understand, putting a little extra weight on myself instead of other individuals because people do consider me that little public person out there. So I understand. And again, I have no bad feelings in regards to going through the process. I'm glad that it's over, to the most part. And I'm just excited to move forward in regards to this upcoming election in November, which I'm sure that you are as well. John, it is 1:30. Any last words for us out there?
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate your viewers and supporters out there. This is a grassroots effort. I hope that you take time to get to know me and not what the fake local news media might say about me. They need to actually understand where I come from, what I stand for, and what we'll do to make the changes that are needed. And like I said, I appreciate you having me here, and I look forward to visiting with everybody and answering any questions that anyone might have. I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide.
Well, we know that you were having technical difficulties at the start of the show, but I'm glad that you came back on. And again, John, I've told you this before, and I'll tell you again. I mean, we've been friends for a while. I mean, whenever you have the chance, stop by, let us know. Come on, man, and keep on talking to people out there.
I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's support.
Frankie, any last words?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time. This sheriff race is going to be very interesting. Early voting, we still have time for early voting. Election day is this coming Tuesday, so make sure that you go out and vote if you haven't already. Thanks to Dr. Madi for his time as well. It's always important to hear from the people at the front lines, especially during this pandemic that we're going through. One thing I do want to say is special shouts out to Grease Monkey, our friends on Boca Chica. Support local businesses, guys. During this time like this, it's a time where we should focus on local businesses and helping them during this hard time. So shouts out to our friends at Grease Monkey on Boca Chica. Thank you for your time, guys. It's been an interesting week so far. Tomorrow night we should be having Miss Cisneros
Morgan.
With us.
Republican Party chair.
My mind went blank. The Republican chair with us to speak more on the runoffs, and the current issues going on, and then what we could expect in November. On Friday, we'll be having Ruben Cortez, the State Board of Education, District 2, with us to talk about what's going on with our school districts in our area, and obviously with President Trump wanting us to go back to school. So thank you so much, guys, for your time. Have a good night. Erasmo Castro tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., guys.
Guys, we'll be out here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and we're going to go through all the notes that they sent us directly from the meeting. I appreciate the people there sending Erasmo Castro notes directly from the meeting. It is greatly appreciated, guys. And guys, the only way that we're going to beat this system is if we continue to keep each other informed, continue to support individuals that are out there that are not part of the corrupt political machine that exists here in Cameron County, that exists here in the city of Brownsville. It's time, guys. It's time. We have been given an amazing opportunity to have individuals out there that have no connections whatsoever, that are not in the pockets, deep pockets of special interest, or taking money from vendors, guys. Because let me tell you, our judicial system, our law enforcement system here has been plagued for far too long with special interest vendor money going into the campaigns of individuals that are running for office. Guys, take a chance on individuals that aren't in the pockets of deep pockets of people out there, man. It's time. Try it out. I mean, what do you got to lose? You already know the devil you have. The devil we have is not done good for us, guys. Stay safe. Maintain social distance. Again, thank you to Dr. Amadi. Thank you, John. Again, appreciate you running. Appreciate you taking your time to come on here as well. And again, anytime you want to come on, and let us know what's going on that campaign trail. And guys, hey,
My daughter. You wanted to say hi.
Happy birthday to Mary in Vegas. Happy birthday, Mary. Hope you're having a good time. Stay safe out there.
Guys, stay safe. Take care of each other. Take care of me. Come buy my cookies. I still have cookies, guys. Goodness gracious, I got like 1,000 of these cookies. Come pick up cookies in my office tomorrow and get some coffee. God bless. Take care of each other. Take care of me.
My niece wanted to say hi.
Bye, mamas. Have a great one. Good to see you. Bye, guys.
Bye.